Hi, and welcome to When They Dare to Be Powerful, a podcast series celebrating the legacy of Black women in librarianship. This series highlights the contributing authors and the extraordinary librarians featured in the book, The Legacy of Black Women in Librarianship, edited by Dr. Nicole A. Cooke. Together, these stories honor the brilliance, resilience, and leadership of Black women who have shaped and continue to shape our profession. I'm your host, Dr. Cearra Harris, and in each episode, we center the voices behind this important work, exploring their contributions, their scholarship, and the lasting impact of the women they uplift. Each conversation in this series offers an opportunity to reflect on legacy, what it means, how it's built, and why it matters. These stories remind us that Black women have always been powerful forces within librarianship, even when their work went unrecognized or undocumented. And before we dive in, if you haven't already, I encourage you to grab a copy of The Legacy of Black Women in Librarianship. It's an essential read for librarians, information professionals, scholars, and anyone committed to preserving and honoring our collective history. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. LaKeshia Darden. Dr. Darden highlighted the legacy of Eliza Atkins Gleason in their chapter. Dr. Darden is the Director of Library Services at St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas, where she provides strategic leadership for academic library services, student success initiatives, and campus-wide engagement. Prior to entering librarianship, Dr. Darden spent 8 years as a public school educator, an experience that continues to inform her commitment to teaching, equity, and lifelong learning. In this conversation, we discuss her contribution to the legacy of Black women in librarianship and reflect on the remarkable woman that she chose to highlight. I am so excited to share this interview with you all. You all are in for a treat. Here's my conversation with Dr. Darden. LaKeshia, thank you so much for joining me today. We're here to talk about your chapter in the legacy of Black women in librarianship when they dare to be powerful. So before we jump into you talking about the amazing librarian that you chose to do your chapter on, can you just tell us a bit about yourself and all the amazing work that you do?
Oh, yeah. My path to librarianship began in the classroom. I was a high school English teacher for 8 years, um, deeply invested in literacy, storytelling, helping students see themselves in what they read. And then over time, I left the classroom and began librarianship, I think the summer of 2011. And as I grew in my career, I became more interested in learning about who controlled access to the stories, how knowledge is curated, preserved, valued, and just continue to grow.
I love that. So what inspired you to be a part of this project and contribute a chapter?
Um, this project aligned directly with my scholarly and professional commitments. Black women have always served as knowledge keepers and culture workers, but sometimes their labor in librarianship could be overlooked. And so contributing to this volume was an opportunity to reclaim that history and honor and the courage and brilliance to ensure that Black women's contributions are documented and preserved for future generations.
That's beautiful. And as a new researcher, like that's really inspiring for me as well. So I thank you. I commend you for that. So without telling us too much, can you please just talk a bit about the librarian that you chose to highlight and what initially captured your interest in her story?
Yes, so I chose to highlight Dr. Eliza Atkins Gleason because she represents the convergence of scholar and institution builder, and she was an advocate. So all of that in one. And she was the first African American to earn a PhD in library science. And she used scholarship not for prestige, but she wanted to really document the inequity and advocate for improved library services in Black communities. And her work demonstrated that librarianship could be a powerful vehicle for social change.
So she opened the door for all of us.
Yes.
All of us. Because I've never talked to a Black woman in our field who holds a PhD, and
Mhm.
their work is for the prestige. It's always to open
Right.
the door for someone else. Yeah. I think we all have that similar story of like why we came into the field and what we want to do. That's wonderful. So, as you researched and you started writing about her, what moments or discoveries really stood out to you?
It was her dissertation, and I spent quite a bit going through her dissertation in my chapter. The Southern Eagle in the Public Library was the title, and it was just so powerful. She combined rigorous data analysis, firsthand observation to document the disparity in library access across the segregated South. And equally striking was her role as the founding dean of the Atlanta University School of Library Service. We know that as Clark University now, where she ensured that Black librarians were trained not only in technique but in purpose and democratic responsibility. So but her dissertation stood out the most for me.
I think that I feel like this is a question that we could talk about for a while, the next one. But in what ways do you think her legacy continues to influence the profession today, especially when it comes to equity, leadership, and how we look at community within the library?
Her legacy is evident in ongoing conversations about egg. We were still talking about equal access, how our stories are being documented, even in archives when it comes to, I know archives, to me, I look at as kind of like a branch of librarianship, like how our histories, our narratives are being preserved. And again, these conversations are still ongoing. She came up with measurable standards when you go through her dissertation with how she didn't just observe what was going on and how it's inequitable, but she provided solutions and what could be done moving forward. We can probably go back and revisit those. And as we continue to address disparities in funding, staffing, and collections today, depending on, different communities. So her leadership model provides a blueprint for equity-centered practice, and it's still applicable today.
That's wonderful. Now, this one I'm really curious about when it comes to you personally, after immersing yourself in her dissertation, immersing yourself in her life story, how did it transform you and did it give you a new sense of purpose in your work in our field?
Yes, I found out, her family had moved to Winston-Salem. Her dad worked at was a I want to give all the chapter, but he was an educator, and so she was around education her whole life. And before I started, I was not aware of her ties to North Carolina. I grew up in North Carolina, K through 12. I attended Fayetteville State University, went to North Carolina Central. Then I went back to my undergrad alma mater for my EDD. So I was like, oh, she's a North Carolina girl. So I just felt like in a way, it was affirming my place in this long lineage of Black women who view librarianship as both scholarship and service, and with her balance of administration and research. And I'm still trying to balance. I'm in administration. I'm a library director myself now, but I still want to research and I still want to be involved. I served on several children's literature award committees, and I still want to make sure I balance all of that and just reading through her life work and how she worked to be an educator, administration, still researching disparities of the community part of librarianship. It stayed with me and it mirrors for me my own professional journey, and it
Mhm.
strengthened my commitment to lead with intentionality and historical awareness. Like this isn't new. What I'm trying to do isn't new, like you said, and what many of us Black women librarianship are doing. It's not new. And it really stayed with me.
This is why these stories are so important because it's affirming. Because we have this like immense calling on us as Black women in this field to do this work, and it sometimes feels like impossible to be able to balance all these many hats that we have to wear. Because you just listed a slew, and it's not even my workload, and I got over with.
Yeah.
But seeing someone who did it successfully, especially having to face the obstacles that she faced, it's
Right.
affirming to see. I'm affirmed looking at all the amazing things that you're doing in the same way that you were affirmed researching and writing this chapter. So that's why it's so important for these stories to be told, but also these conversations to be had. So, what did it mean to you to be a part of this collective?
It was the act of gratitude. I kept thanking Dr. Cooke throughout the process. Thank you for having me. Thank you for including me. Thank you for including my chapter. Um, and professionally, it was just an out of accountability. I think we should know what has been done before us, who have come before us, and ensuring that, Black women's labor and leadership are recognized as foundational rather than peripheral to the field of library science. So,
Foundational. I don't think I've ever heard someone say it explicitly like that. Our labor was foundational. Whew.
yes.
What what is one central message that you really just hope people take away from your chapter? I've taken away a million from this one conversation, but when
Okay.
readers pick up the book, what is one central message you want them to take away?
I hope that readers understand that Black women like Dr. Eliza Atkins Gleason have always been architects of librarianship, shaping institutions, advancing scholarship, and advocating for equity long before such efforts were widely acknowledged. That's what I hope they take away.
That's beautiful. And looking ahead, now this is on you. Looking ahead, LaKeshia, what are your hopes for the future of our profession, especially for Black women and emerging professionals like myself entering the field now?
My hope is for a profession that moves beyond performative commitments,
Mhm.
we're thinking about across the board and toward real structural change, one that values Black women for their leadership, our intellect, and our humanity, and creates pathways that nurture rather than deplete emerging professionals. 'Cause that's what's needed.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for being a contributing author, but thank you for the work and the labor that you're doing consistently. It's opening doors for many people like myself, but it's also affirming my place in the field as well. Like your research matters, your work matters, you matter to this profession,
Oh,
and
thank
you
you.
are foundational. You,
Oh,
you are.
thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for having me.
This was fantastic. Y'all pick up the book and read Lakeisha's chapter. It's fantastic. And we are just so excited for all the amazing things you're going to continue to do to push our field forward.
Yes. And I'm excited for what you're going to do.
Thank you. You were in for a treat. I want to thank Dr. Darden again for their meaningful contribution to this fantastic read. Your work is powerful, necessary, and deeply affirming. And we are better as a profession because of a scholar like you. If you haven't already, if I haven't sold you on the book already, make sure you grab a copy today and spend time with these stories. They deserve to be remembered, read, and shared. Thank you for listening to this episode of When They Dare to Be Powerful. I'm Dr. Cearra Harris, and I'll see you in the next episode.